I'm hoping as a facilitator to force or to encourage paying attention where there wasn't attention before, or awareness. So much of our language and what we say about ourselves is revealing, but it's unconscious. It's a program running. And if I can take 1% more of that and get and pay attention to it and be and actually investigative, is this serving me? Does this feel accurate? Because so much that we say is less accurate than what we could say that is a more true reflection of our experience. Why do we do that? It's so interesting to me.
Would you like to speak to the cacao?
To the cacao. Thank you for this day. Thank you for already being engaged with life and connected and celebrating. For our morning moment, working out in the park in the dewy, wet grass.
You combined morning and moment then.
I did. Moment.
This is the cacao I get from yourself.
Wonderful.
And I'd love you to speak to that. Because I know it's Peru or it's
Peruvian.
Yeah. There you go.
From the Peruvian highlands. I want to say that I got a wonderful relationship with Cacao Love and my friend there, Gavin, and Diana, friends, who have been very humble about how they share the cacao. And after exploring different varieties of cacao from Mexico, from Ecuador, from Guatemala, Bali, other places, Africa, I got this cacao and this one from Peru. And there's for me, a connection with the country of Peru. And it landed. There was something beyond the taste. I really liked the experience of this cacao. So part of it is feeling into the energy and the relationship with it. And I believe that Gavin and Diana have done a really wonderful job cultivating the relationship with the farmers who produce this, and very humble integrity sharing it. And for a while now, which is nice because I know that there's so many new, and that's wonderful, that the myth, the intelligence, the wisdom of Mother Cacao is that when it's time for us to reconnect to nature, for us human and the human consciousness to reconnect with ourself and our nature, then she's going to come from the forests, from the jungle, and support that. And that's her volition. And it's happening now a lot. Like, it's so many different people are tuning into that, and different kinds of cacao and different variations, not just chocolate.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasure to share. And you've been a part of that journey where I get 25 kilos. And it's not easy to get that to Portugal. So I harbor it here in the UK with one friend or another.
The ripples of it do affect and matter.
Yeah.
I sent a cup size to all the people that came to my men's retreat last year.
Oh, brilliant.
A year to the day. I sent them their letter they wrote to themselves with a bit of your cacao. So like you gift it to me in a great exchange, and that exchange I do my best to try and kind of pass that on. It's not like I'm profiting from things.
Right.
It's a different exchange for me.
Right.
Of like, I'm not going to just this mode of cacao. It's like, how can I actually continue that exchange?
I love that. I feel that allowing myself to receive that it is a ripple effect. And again, coming back to the volition, that willingness of Mother Cacao to share the love. And I hope that they take it and they do something as rich and beautiful as this in their own way, you're in your men's group, Men of Earth, to sit with a brother or with themselves, with their family, and enjoy the medicine.
Yeah. If it's not too much of a hot day when the postman delivers.
Right. Yeah, that's happened too.
Beautiful, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maestro. Thank this medicine because it brought us together.
It did.
If it weren't for
That's so true.
me feeling the call and connection to share this in ceremonies, I'm not sure I would have had a place at the 100 Human Experience as a facilitator. So Tony invited me to share the cacao. I was really excited about that. And it was at the first one where you and I met. And I was looking forward to that big time. It was the biggest cacao ceremony I'd ever held by a factor of 2 at least.
A lot of newbies there.
Newbies, folks who are new to it, to sitting in a circle, to singing, to the prayer, to the intention, which is wonderful, and the heart opening. I remember that we had moved that 100 Human Experience a few times. So I was very grateful to make it happen on my end, to be able to show up for it, because moving parts, that started a beautiful relationship, beautiful friendship.
Yeah, it has done. To that.
To that, brother.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
It has done. Without the need of too many words. It's interesting. I always think with you, and I will say, full honesty, I'm cautious of nice men. So when I see, observe, witness a really good guy, I'm like, I don't trust them. But with you, it's actually different. I was thinking of this. It's different. I fully trust you. And yeah, I don't know why that is. I don't need to know, but I do fully trust you. And you're a very nice man.
I appreciate that. Because I know there is a conversation around healing and integration of nice guy people pleasing,
That's
not
what it is. Yeah, it's like, how much do I trust this person's word if they are always saying or doing the right thing, or never being a moment's problem, like as the nice guy syndrome would be, and those kind of tendencies. It doesn't stop me from participating in life and friendships, in getting to know people, but I notice it does come up when I'm like, there's a trust thing here, because I don't know how much they would honor themselves in a situation. If I was like, oh, can you help me out, but it wasn't good for you, and you just did it anyway, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, there's no reciprocity, no true energy exchange in that, or net negative anyway.
Because what's the motivation for you wanting to have, but you don't, and it's not going to be beneficial for you? It's never black and white, and there's always these overlaps of things. But
I find that the conversation of black and white and how it manifests in our nervous system and our language too, I've found tremendous healing in the awareness of that, and the willingness to step into the gray, or the willingness to find a middle point. It's super exciting to me when the awareness is there, because usually it can be operating from a place of unconscious, just programming.
Give me some examples of some gray areas that you've been navigating.
In relationship,
Yeah.
that's a valuable one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Married man.
Married man. And what a journey. I can't say I never saw that coming. What I can say is it's as surprising as it is beautiful, and very much a function of listening to my heart and being very attentive.
Mm.
And anyway, the black and white conversation can come in our language, and how we may describe a situation, how we may describe what we perceive how another person behaves, what happened. So that manifests in our words as binary language. Binary language can be something like always or never. You always leave dirty dishes in the sink.
Very definite, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah. And so it may come up that there's a hurt on one side or the other in a relationship, and I'm also considering and welcoming a specific memory to come to mind. Until then,
Yeah,
we'll go with the philosophical side of it. And there's that moment where we are painting the situation in black and white. It was this way. And to have that awareness that the way we look at that, the way I can see that or hear it or receive it, has a relationship with my nervous system, and it can be upregulating, it can be triggering to the point where we no longer have that dexterity or that emotional space to explore the middle, to explore what else is there in terms of the experience or the reflection of what's happening or what happened or what can happen.
Yeah, the complexity.
Yeah, the nuance.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel we do that. Like we say a definite answer of like, you always do this. When is that? It's not true, is it? It feels real that you always do that, but it's not black and white. It's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's not simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
So we do it to, if we say that, if we say definite, this always happens, then it's rooted in like my need for safety. Because if I know it always happens in my mind, I'm like, it always is this way. Why is it always this way? Then it's kind of more simple and I can understand it. I don't have to entertain the idea of like, okay, so when is it or is it not this way? Can I think about that a little deeper? Can I like reflect on this and explore what's internal for me? And it is rooted in that. It's like external, black and white.
Mm-hmm.
It's like defining colour. That's exactly
Mm-hmm.
that colour.
Mm-hmm.
But then internally, it's not so simple. Because again, these are just words to describe the complexity of the human experience.
It's an energy. I mean, it is an energy exchange. And so for us to use our resources, there's interesting because there's different possibilities in my experience of using our resources. In other words, my attention. There is exercising willpower, which can feel taxing. And that could be the beginning of something, of looking at something in a new way, where it was initially unknown to me that I behaved that or used that language or I had that point of view. And then somebody can reflect to me if I'm lucky and I'm able to hear that and then start paying attention to, oh, okay, I said it like that or I did that thing, rather than being defensive about it. So the defensive would be the easy way to shortcut using the energy. And then there's the infinite well of energy in the present moment. So that's why I find finding the nuance in things very invigorating, because beyond that initial energy tax, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
we can get into what's more true, what's more authentic, what's more aligned, and that's the wellspring of energy. So if I pay the energy tax by, I think, eating humble pie, being willing to see ourselves
Mm.
past
Mm-hmm.
judgment and explore the nuance of a situation, there's so much energy there and creativity.
Mm-hmm. So what would humility look like?
What would humility look? We have this, Ruby and I have this exchange where often I'll say what I heard. Sometimes we ask each other, what did you hear? Or how did you hear that? How did that land in our communication?
Making the explicit implicit.
Right. And so the humility for me has come from being as transparent as possible when I'm triggered or when I heard something and I know it's inauthentic or from a wounded place.
Mm.
So it could be as simple as her asking me to do something differently, and I'll be like, I heard I'm not good enough. I'll just say it. I'll say, I heard, and it's not like I know she didn't mean it like that, but I need to hear me say I need to shine the light on that showing up. It doesn't need to be there. And she gets to say, no, that's not what I said.
Yeah. But what that also takes is, yes, you revealing your experience. So you reveal what actually happened for you in that moment. Sure, like, not easy to do, but you can do it. But that also requires the other person to participate in this moment of possibility of healing. So it requires them not to like be defensive,
Right.
because they could also be defensive,
Right.
from I heard this is just what I heard, or this is how I felt. And it's like, you could be shut down if they're not willing to step in and lean in to what's true for you, because that can seem like an attack on them of like sorts. So it requires them to lean into that, but also in that situation when because I try my best of like, yes, your stuff's your stuff, my stuff's my stuff, but we have a responsibility for each other as friends,
right,
as maybe partners, to then
support
hold
each other.
Hold each other in like, okay, that's what you're hearing. I know I didn't say that. I don't want you to think I said that. But then it's, how do I allow you skillfully to go into that experience for you? So what would that look like if you open that up?
Silence is golden, man. Silence and being present. And when I say present, it could be as simple as feeling the urge to respond, or respond in a way that's a reaction. Because there could be the nice guy. It could be, oh, let me fix that for you. You don't have to feel that way. Instead of giving it space to move. Because a lot of times when I have felt exposed, that energy wants more than anything to be seen so that it can transform. I look at that as an internal alchemical experience, transformation. And what is often valuable is that silence where I know it's a safe kind of silence. And that, as I'm unpacking this, is also part of my own journey. So part of my own skill. Because if somebody's quiet, then it could be easy to immediately go into my head and be like, what are they thinking? They're judging me. What this, that, and the other. So to know what to do with silence then would be the next thing. And that, for me, would be to feel it. And another So silence would be a good way to explore that. And then another practical one is reflection. This is what I said. This is what I heard you say. This is what I felt. And again, I would come back to that space. That's valuable. That's so valuable for that being in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because what is then, so there's an evolution. I find that very evolutionary, that space. What can happen, and I also call myself out on that often, is if I'm operating from, I want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be right about this, whatever it is. It's so funny. It's like humble pie is like saying, damn it, I just want to be right about this.
What's rooted in wanting to be right?
Pride. Sense whatever ego structure
Respect.
it is, really. Yeah.
Acceptance, respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that. But then the great sayings that are so simple. Would you rather be right or in connection?
That's it. That's it. So I feel like one has to know where they're going, or have an experience that represents what is possible. And if I'm going to be honest and say, based on my own experience, I didn't know connection like that until my late 20s. Consciously. That's a very good point to make. I find that there's unconscious, meaning we're not aware, we're in connection. It could be playing a game, it can be enjoying a moment, it can be in a flow state, but there's something else, that there's a different experience when I'm connected and I'm paying attention at that unfolding, at that experience. So it's not a byproduct, it's I'm engaged in that connection. I'm part of that connection. When I say I mean, like, perhaps I mean a healthy sense of self. So, like in meditation practice, to go from the headiness of am I doing this right, to all of that goes away and there's a disillusion, there's a moment of peace, bliss, beingness. We have words. Words aren't it. Words are moving our attention ultimately. And it's when that attention goes to beingness. Then I know, okay, meditation can be about this. And then in the future I can go for it. So I do understand from my own experience, I didn't operate from that awareness that was what's possible until some of the language work and coaching and studying I've done, and of course meditation practice, to be able to achieve that in relationship with another or with oneself. And nonviolent communication is a big part of that. Fact, feeling, need, requests.
Can you break that down? So you've drawn the parallels between meditation and being in relation to oneself or another. Coming to a state of being and presence. So can you break that down of like how that's translated from your meditation practice into the relationship with yourself? Yeah.
When I close my eyes, a substantial part of what the yogis would say is prana or chi, energy, returns back to an introspective possibility. Meaning we expend a lot of our energy just through sight. And seeing out there. So if I close my eyes, then immediately I have the possibility of reclaiming that attention. However, where there is skill where skill is involved is what can I do with that attention? Do I have influence over that? So that to me is consciousness. Like that's being conscious, being aware, is that I've got this energy beam. Where do I put it? And if you've ever heard the statement, where your focus goes, energy flows, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a transformative,
Yeah.
like that's gold. That's a chest full of gold, understanding
There's
that.
so many examples of that
Yeah.
you can literally exercise in this moment.
Right.
There's a practice I got. Tony Robbins did it on a podcast. Look around the room. Look for the green things. Okay. But you do it with someone who's just not aware that this is a practice.
Mm-hmm.
I did it in the talk that I did up north. One of my first kind of talks to, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I was like, okay, now tell me something red you saw. I was like, well, you weren't looking for the red. So if I'm feeling unsafe, I'm going to look outside of myself to justify why that's true. So it's like, yeah, we'll get into that. So yeah, staying with your example.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
To become aware of that process is, I would say that's I don't know what is enlightenment. I know and feel like I have my own experience of becoming awake or becoming more present, tuned in. What is the present moment in terms of an experience, not something we just talk about. That's come through meditation, practice. I do maintain as a yoga teacher trainer or as a facilitator, I differentiate between meditation and meditation practice. Mm-hmm. Meditation being the state or the experience that can be had or that one can be involved in. The practice being, what's the tool? Is it the focus to the breath? Is it the focus on sensation? Is it a visualization? That with repetition can train us, and then we would hope that the byproduct of that training, of that practice, would be the state, the experience of meditation. So I would say that the journey in breaking that apart is having the practice and willingness to be open to something new, something different, out of the realm of what my current expectation of experience would be. Curiosity is a wonderful way to say that. And with iteration of having that experience, there's definitely a disillusion of ego, a disillusion of what I thought is isness, the business of isness. And it really brings home, I don't know what I don't know. It really brings home what it just existential, what is life?
Yeah.
Do we all have that? Where my attention touches the vast space. Sometimes it's void, but yet so pregnant with experience. Do we all have a place where we go? Is that all of us? Questions like that. When I first started meditating, I did have this sense that we could all, as human beings, in our perceived separateness, we could all withdraw our attention in and we'd all be one. I think it's through the mechanism of ego that we are separate, and we have that perception, but we all can draw the attention in and be one. So there's the meme, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like consciousness poking up through like the ground, and the fingers are like humans. So the perception is separateness, but then, you see that it's all the same being. And that to me is connection. So within myself, that's knowing myself. I can understand that when I'm relating with another, there's the ego me.
Sure.
There's that part of me that wants to be right, a part of me that wants to have a framework for how to navigate this,
Great
which
words.
is valuable.
to use.
Yeah. And also the other person. It's just so, I find it so dear, like rich also, to have that journey with another person who's willing to be curious and be vulnerable like that. And that's rare, but I can,
You have that?
huh?
You have that?
I believe so.
Mm.
Certainly aim to foster as much of it as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Celebrate it when it's there.
Yeah, exactly. I do celebrate it. I was like, that happened, and that is awesome that happened. I love that. Yes, and more, please. I'm not sure how we got there, but
Bring us back.
The conversation.
So the meditation. So you're giving us some tangible meditational insights to how to reframe, how to
the conversation of connection,
become more connected with our experience and with everything that interrelates. Is what I'm getting. How does that translate into the relational? So like, if you sit in that space, internal, and just acknowledgement of coming back to humility and curiosity, are you saying if we act from that place, the relational will be better, will come from a more being sense rather than, trying to prove, trying to be right? Is that the foundation? Has that helped you?
It certainly helps.
Yeah,
it certainly adds to the richness of that relationship. It's a matter of, can I pay attention to what's happening in me in this context? And
can we do it alone?
Yeah, and it's easier to do it alone, I find.
Yeah. I think there's a great practice that you did on the coaching around how you, in the moment with someone, were able to draw on some of the things that they were saying, which could be limiting, which could be roadblocks. And you are like, okay, grab a pen, write down what you just said. And I've tried to do that with people, and it's not easy. It's not easy. But obviously you're just speaking to, but you were plucking out of the context of what they were saying, like some things that were like very definite and very finite, very black and white about themselves. And then you would get them to write them down and read it back. It's so simple.
And that's, so as a practical exercise, I'm hoping as a facilitator to force or to encourage paying attention where there wasn't attention before, or awareness. So it's an exercise it's an awareness practice, saying that so much of our language and what we say about ourselves is revealing, but it's unconscious. It's a program running.
Yeah.
And if I can take 1% more of that and get and pay attention to it and be actually investigative, is this serving me? Does this feel accurate? Because so much that we say is less accurate than what we could say that is a more true reflection of our experience. Sure. Why do we do that? It's so interesting to me.
Conditioning.
Yeah, conditioning.
Language and the momentum of language.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah.
I like that. The inertia.
Yeah, of like, we'll pick up something and then we'll carry it for our lives. And it's so definite. Yeah, I think that is really a great takeaway. Even though it's like, just to notice that, like, when are you being so like finite with what you're saying?
And part of that practice is also integrating the cerebral, like the headiness of it, and also the sensation and imagery that comes from it. Right?
I don't want it to be so analytical.
Yes, exactly. Because then it can be like a further extension of I want to be right. And it can be used as a weapon instead of a really beautiful healing tool.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen. It's funny because I've seen and felt certain tools and modalities be weaponized because it's an extension of that ego of I want to be right, or superiority.
Conscious communication. It's
the
biggest one. You get better at communicating. It doesn't mean that things are going to change. You're just going to have more tools to avoid the thing
Yeah.
that you
Gotta look at you.
need
Just gotta
looking.
look deep. Gotta keep looking. Humble. Gotta be humble.
I've recently just had James Fishgill on. Do you know him?
I do not.
Oh my god.
I've heard really, really cool things about.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, about through you and Sam too.
yeah, yeah. It'll have come out before this, but he has such a powerful essence and framework about this stuff, and it is just so like he's just been refining it over the years, coaching. He's doing facilitating trainings now, and it's definitely loads of authentic relating, conscious communication, like what's the other one, non-violent communication, like overlap, because there are certain things that just work.
Right.
And I did an authentic relating course this year, level 1, and yeah, like revealing your experience, assume nothing.
Yes.
Revealing your experience, but also honor your experience. Like very simple things, but like, can you honor it? Like welcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does the depth of this feel like?
Certain
cues and questions that allow you to just go
cut right through.
Yeah, cut right through. And there's
Yeah.
like 3 layers of conversation and understanding those, which is really powerful. Like the first one being like figures, facts, data, information, like just the information of things, weather, clothing, how you look. And then the second layer will be personal, the things that you care about, the things that impact you. And then the third would be what's happening now in your experience, in your body.
What's alive in me.
Yeah.
Like Marshall Rosenberg would say.
Yeah. But it's great to have these frameworks that do work. And I mentioned James Fishgill because, yeah, he just doesn't, kind of doesn't want to analyse, doesn't want to go into anything that's like, we can dig and dig and dig. But really, let's deal with what's here now.
Yeah, what's behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just dealing with sensation, but also bringing empathy, compassion, sensitivity, loving awareness. Like it's very influenced by yogic philosophy around loving awareness.
Presence. This is what happens when we meditate, and I feel, and with cacao too. This is going to be intended to be a part of the same conversation.
Yeah, don't hold back.
My first experience with cacao was guided, and there was a meditation, and there was a moment where as if it were happening as a visualization and also a feeling in my body, there was all my worldly possessions on a wall, like just on a wall, if you will, friendships, family, identity structures, just on the wall, and they just started falling off, and I saw them falling off, like, just crumbling off the wall. But what stayed there was the wall, or the wall was like a representative of the infinite in a way, and it wasn't a wall like we perceive a wall, like an obstacle or in the way or blocking something. It was just pure love. And it was like what happened for me was, what is there when everything falls away? Love. And that stuck with me, and that is so potent in me that I aim to get everything to fall away every now and again, so that I can remember that's what's behind all of this. I'd be very happy to, I would say operating from that framework has served me in my life. It makes my life beautiful, and it's a choice to operate from that framework too. It's like
it's active.
Yeah, like Jeff, the ego structure, chooses how he, now in the third person, operates from.
We've got here.
Right? So I want to be choosing how I operate, and be also open to new operating systems.
Well, we're choosing either way, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're really choosing.
Right, consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
So that yogic, for me at the beginning, was yoga, meditation, the practices that refine consciousness and awareness. Because yoga is union, the word. It's to yoke, to be united with oneness or divine or God or whatever. However, it's just one thing to talk about it, like James Gill, last name?
That's it.
Oh, James Gill. It's another thing to experience, so let's dispense with the...
Yeah, and it's wrapping loving awareness into someone else's expression and experience and behaviour and attitude, which might be really alarming. I was in traffic yesterday. It was it looked like a one-way street, but people were coming from all ways. Metaphor maybe for life. And these cars were like backing up. There was nowhere for me to go. I look back, there's like 6 cars, isn't it? There's like 2 in front of me. So the cars start backing up, and this guy gets out, and I get out and try to help them, and I was like, you gotta, yeah. I didn't even see the car behind because it was one of those smart cars, and it was like kind of backing into the bush, and I'm like, what is happening here? I was like, you okay? She's like, I've had a long day, and she couldn't reverse essentially. And this guy comes running out, and he's like, very London accent, which makes it great for me, like comedy value. But also he's like, fucking can't drive, like what's going on? And I'm just like, I'm compassionate to the people in the cars because they're not actually being very hostile.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy is, and I'm like, who needs more compassion?
Beautiful question.
But this was like, it's hard to get here because it was only after, really. At the time I was like, it's cool, like, it's cool.
How did you meet him with compassion?
I didn't in that moment. I let him do his thing, and he was annoyed, but he was kind of helping them, and he was like, people just, he was like saying, he was just, people are stupid, people are still dumb. It wasn't like a big deal. Like no one was really paying attention to him, and he was going back to his car. But there was an opportunity there for me to lean in and go, I hear your frustration. And like just really like see it from not like condone, but just notice. I notice you're frustrated. Mm-hmm. Like what's good, you know, if you got to be somewhere important.
Yeah, that's
or like just to try and access what's true for him. Because what's true for him is really true, really real for him in that moment.
Right.
And I have no context for
it's all projection until it's
for sure
met, right?
And it would be very easy to me to go, come on mate, it's not that bad, or like basically deny his experience and say, come on, no one's dying here, it's fine, like come on, 10 minutes it's not a big deal. But I could do that, but that would be playing down his experience. And what's more effective, and this is on the James Fish Gill method, is to lean in and go, I notice that this is happening for you. Like, it must be really frustrating. It must be really frustrating to be in your car and see this. Like, you know, it's busy, it's rush hour, like, yeah. But like, try and lean in, but also present with an invitation. And so not just pander to and play the martyr and just like, you can feel this way. It's like, but also you can feel this way. But the invitation is, you know, the invitation, whatever that looks like, just to invite him into, like, no one is actually at risk here, so it's cool, we just need a couple of minutes and it's going to be fine. But just to like what's going to be the most effective outcome, and allow him to invite, can I just invite you into something, or like, when you speak this way, you know, does it ever, you know, get the result you want? I don't know, whatever that might be, and that can be any situation, but it's just really skillfully going about inviting him to think differently, but also like noticing and expressing how do you feel his pain, because he's in pain. Whatever triggered his emotion, it's real,
it sucks,
and it needs to be honoured
in
right?
that moment. I think that's certainly the cheap reframe in positive psychology and self-development. Sometimes a reframe can be an earth-shattering, renewing experience, or, you know, coming unassembled when you see something different than you had originally seen it. And then there's like I don't really want to feel what you're feeling, or I don't want you to be mad. So just look at the bright side, right? Easy, cheap. What's far more potent, like you were saying, and I want to talk about the NVC, nonviolent communication framework, that also floored me and I love. What's more valuable in that moment is presence. Coming back to that kind of presence I'm talking about, that for me, the most accurate way I can empathize is if I'm being present and just observing.
The most accurate way you can empathize.
Yeah, and
Present.
but then remembering, like, I'm only imagining, I need to feel his heart if he's willing to share, that person in this example, to know what is your experience, because until then I'm guessing.
Sure.
And then, well, if we're sensitive and we've practiced that, we could feel that too in a way. One of the most valuable, exciting things that I've connected with in understanding some of these frameworks for communication and relationship, is how it might be a default pattern to, especially male thing. I think it's that men do this. A strategy, a fix. Here's how you can fix that. So I hear somebody complain. Here's how you can fix that. Versus truly hearing what's there, or exploring what is the feeling, the sensation, and then the need behind that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you think that is because men have their worth and value wrapped up in being productive? Or do you think it's something else?
Well, from one point of view, it's a victim martyr dynamic. It's I can fix. I want to, like, the impulse.
I can be the victim here. Oh, sorry, I can be the victor.
I can be the savior. Or
Sure.
Yeah. So I think it's actually in the shadow. It's an inability to feel and be empathetic with what's showing up, and a desire for it to change, like a desire to bypass it, unconscious. Maybe it's wrapped. I also think it could be wrapped up in my worth is I need to be. Yeah, I can see and observe that there's
that might be somewhere on the timeline. Of that process.
Right.
But it also, I like what you said there around. Yeah, fixing feels good to fix, which makes me feel victorious.
So then, within that, it's being super clear that a need and a strategy do not equal each other. We often associate with hearing the need that a strategy will equate to the need, or the fix, if you will. So how this plays out in conversation is, if and I'll do it even for myself. So even within me, there's a feeling and an avoidance of that feeling, and I'll want a strategy. So it would be a coping mechanism to not feel that. However, and so that would be a strategy, right? That would be, what can I drink coffee if I'm tired, or get on the screen if I'm not feeling comfortable with the boredom, whatever that is, or scroll. However, if I can have that beautiful moment of awareness where I choose to feel that, something very different happens. And it could be the source of inspiration that changes or transforms that into a full spectrum yes, or being engaged with life. That came from not the intellectual, like the rational side of here's what you can do to fix that. It came from meeting my attention to the need within. So also having that in relation, like can my words and questions guide you / us to what is really showing up right here that can be met with the light of awareness, so that what is true can spontaneously show up, versus like the intellectual fix. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's witnessing. It's witnessing
Yeah.
and seeing what's the truth, what's the reality. Which, again, those words can be used in different ways, but what is real in this moment, and just allow it to be seen without the need to change it, without the need to fix it, which is another word.
That's huge. That's something. Divine masculine.
Yeah.
I find it's certainly a quality.
Yeah. Okay. We don't need to change anything.
Right there.
Yeah. I have a question around cacao. Let's bring it back. Because I'd love to get your insight in how we use this as a way in to reconnect with things that have been very exploited in our timeline. Tobacco, cacao, it's myriad of things which I'm experiencing new levels of reverence with, or like connection, or like, oh, I was wrong about that. And this really feeds into everything we're talking about, because it is the relational, it's the being with. But if you could speak to that, how can people reapproach maybe cacao, or maybe other things in their life, in a more sacred way?
I love that. For us, especially Westerners, and the civilization of giving our power to others to tell us what to believe and perceive about God, about religion, about spirit, part of it is going to be to unlearn that part that thinks it knows about anything. And one way is to model children in that. To make it a game.
The ones that still remember.
Yeah. And so to reinvigorate that sense of relationship with things that we consider inanimate, and we abuse them when they become inanimate, or we use them in an unconscious way when they're inanimate, and in terms of our perspective, our perception of it. Okay, let's start with a simple talk to the spirit of that thing. Talk to the essence of that thing. You can pray to it. You can ask it questions. You can listen. It can be a rock. It can be a butterfly. It can be a blade of grass. It can be a tree. Talk to trees, man. I know, I just got like, it's either you're hearing me and you're feeling me. Could be you're on the edge of that. The invitation would be, go have a full-fledged conversation with a tree, and be willing to listen to what the tree says.
You will if you come to the 100 Human Experience.
Right? Yeah. So cacao, this is the indigenous peoples that used these medicines and all plant medicines for that very reason, is communion, and understanding that there's a spirit of that. Tobacco, for example, the spirit of tobacco, sending our prayers up to Great Spirit. Like, tobacco has a mission, it has a place here, it has a purpose here, beyond the whatever chemical experience we have when we ingest or consume it. So it's relating and seeing cacao. I say mother cacao. I say mother cacao, and I fully buy into and engage into the myth that Mother Cacao is here because she has a consciousness and a choosing to be here with us. So when I come from that place, and again, that's a choice. I needed to turn off my rational, discrete way of thinking that puts everything in its own orderly place. And there's, inanimate things are inanimate things, and we just have a word for that. And maybe there's these physical benefits that come from cacao. I needed to open that up and say, I needed to welcome in the possibility that Mother Cacao is a consciousness and is as equally participating in our relationship as I am. And to be open to what happens if I go along with that, if I play with that possibility. Same thing with the tobacco. So
That's so good. Although, let's just stop there.
cool.
As in, like, just to honour that.
Yeah.
Like, it really is that, like, these things having a mission is so...
It's humble.
Informative. Or yeah, like, it's incredible to play with life in that way.
I feel that.
Yeah, and just to see. But it still feels like a little edge for me. It used to be a very big edge. So I always tune into that when I'm holding space of, like, how might this sound to people?
Yeah.
And what's on the other side of letting go of what you think it should sound like, or what you think is true already, which feeds into the whole conversation. Especially for men. It's like, I notice it in myself. It's like when things are talked about in a certain way, it's like, yeah, part of me just feels like I don't want to accept it. Yeah. I don't want to play with that. And that's
because
it's the skepticism that
like
creeps
that.
in.
Because if I pull that thread, and there's the part of me that wants to keep it together, that ego structure. Well, I do believe ego is like a self-preserving thing, because I've seen it with others. I've seen it in myself. Like, it knows that once that thread gets pulled,
okay,
it's an unraveling. It's a no going back. I gotta be open to different possibilities than my clean and cut reality that I've created.
Yeah, I can't say that's an easy thread to pull.
But I definitely pray for us to find the courage and the inner resource to be willing to engage with life and pull the threads and explore that. Because in my experience, it's very beautiful. As beautiful as it can get, and I would like to pull more threads.
Is there any edges for you that you've had to pull?
Plenty. There is an edge around exploring the full embodiment of what I'm talking about. And how does that play into also participating in society that is antithesis to that embodiment in a lot of ways?
Sure.
It's also like recognizing, it's just so fascinating that when I create separateness, or when I create stories.
You mean like food or?
Oh yeah, like so I know we're operating within the framework of a capitalist economic system. So we've created an outward manifestation of that energy that is our attention, and we use money, currency, to move things in the outer world. So I'm very conscious about, if I buy this, where is that energy going really? So, or yeah, it
can be very consuming though.
What's authentic for me?
It can be consuming, right? Does it feel consuming? Like when it's like decisions that you're making every day that we have to all make decisions where we go, what we consume, literally.
That's why we turn ourselves off. I think that is a mechanism of protection. In the world that we're in, it's so much easier to be asleep than awake. And that
not in Bromley. It's amazing.
Not in Bromley. It's just a wonderful spot.
Damn it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an edge. It's like the degree to, okay, even in my relationship, like if I go hardcore and I really stand for what's what matters to me, it wouldn't be pretty. Like it would create more conflict. So I would say what's more valuable is to honor each person in their journey, and if we're relating, how do we find the middle again? Come back to that great. Come back to the, you know, instead of you having it your way and me having it my way, and it's one way or the other. What's the possibility for finding a compromise that actually makes us both happier? Or could what if that's, let me even entertain that possibility that this is just the beginning of whatever the conversation is. Any other edges? Yeah, business. So still, like, another function of that is operating in the world. I do want my heart to make a difference. I've seen it's been reflected back to me that my
I can reflect back to you if you are open.
Yeah.
I see the difference you're making.
Thank you.
Yeah. To me, but also to many people. And to go back to what I said at the start of the conversation, that is the first thing that people honour and say about you, which is that you're amazing, you're so nice. Everyone has a smile on their face when I say, oh, chat to Jeff, or I'm seeing Jeff, or Jeff's going to be there, or you bring so much joy. You're very unique. You're very unique. The way you hold space as well is like something I've never witnessed.
Thank you.
I love you, man.
I love you too. So much. I'm so grateful for that you're in my life.
Yeah, man.
And I'm in your life. Whistle boogers.
What?
Whistle boogers.
Whistle boogers.
Yeah.
I've been so good with your words.
No, I just threw that one out
And
there.
then you just put that array of things together. I have no idea what it means. Amazing. I don't need to know.
No.
It was the intention which
That's right. That's
matters.
right. Yeah. If this person's laughing, listening, that's the best. Good.
Beautiful, man. How would you like to leave this conversation? Would you like to point people to anything that you're a part of or doing, or an invitation?
I am shortly on a train to Cornwall to co-facilitate with our friend and brother Tony, Nat Life Coaching, where in that I am sharing the tools and practices for holding space, because that has been reflected to me in it, and I find it a craft in of its own, holding space. I'm super excited about that. So in my part of my work is both holding space and also how can I create a pathway for others to feel into their authentic way of doing that too, that is based on the systems and modalities that have a time-tested quality. So I'll be there, and pointing to, if you feel called to work with me, connect with me, attend any of my trainings, and get more of this wacky, wonderful possibility in our what does presence have to reveal for us and for you. My yin trainings are fun in that way. Yin yoga is a style of yoga. Other than that, I feel like I want to say thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your like really cool setup, and thanks for like this. I feel honored to be in. I feel honored to be in this space.
That's the intention.
Yeah, it landed.
This is the start.
This is beginning, man.
It has to keep moving. Things will always
Get
change.
started, keep going.
It's refinement, as Tony would say. It's refining, always refining, deepening as we grow. Yeah, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you for speaking your words, for doing your work, and for coming on and being a part of the conversation that I so connect with. And you've helped me also bridge the conversations around sacredness, around reconnection, around earth-based spirituality, and holding space, like the way you've holded and held space has been a big inspiration. I still don't know how you do it. I don't know if I ever will know, but I learn something new each time. I don't know if you know.
I love that, and also like you have your medicine. It's like honestly, you probably, when I hear that, my sense is that you give the same quality, that you think that is some magic sauce that I've got, but you have the same magic sauce, or your variation of it, your flavor of it.
Yeah, man.
I just thought, Gavin and Diana, the people that the cacao brought to you by Cacao Love. It's not a plug, but they are putting a center together in Kenya. I want to go to Kenya in the next couple of years. Just thought about that.
Let's go to Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get them to sponsor the pod. That'd be nice. Because we always start with cacao. It's like,
might as well.
Nice, brother.
All right, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Give you a hug.